Today on Hebrew Vocab Boost, it is all about the number 3. Shalom and welcome back to Hebrew Vocab Boost. I'm Sapir, and today I am talking about the shoresh shin-lamed-shin, which is all about the number 3. This is a pretty straightforward shoresh with basically all of the words with a shin, lamed, and shin related to the number 3 in some way or another. So we can start with the cardinal numbers, and of course we have the number 3, which is shalosh in the feminine and shlosha in the masculine. Now, in modern Hebrew, we always write these words with a cholam maleh, which is, of course, the vav that indicates an O sound. And that exists also in the Tanakh a couple of times, but it's much more common without. And so we also have shloshim, which means 30, shlosh me'ot, which means 300, and shloshet alafim, which means 3,000. And all of these number words are pretty much exactly the same in modern Hebrew, and they are just always now written with a vav to indicate the O sound. Now, shloshet is actually the construct form of the masculine noun shlosha. And so it is usually translated into English as the 3 whatever it is. And that whatever has to be a masculine noun in modern Hebrew. So the 3 boys would be shloshet hayeladim, but the 3 girls would just be shlosh hayeladot. So I've noticed a couple of interesting constructions in the Tanakh that definitely wouldn't fly in modern Hebrew. And the first is that shloshet seems to be the preferred number that goes with yamim, days, even if it's not the specific days. And it outnumbers shlosha about fourfold. So there's 4 times as many shloshet yamim as there are shlosha yamim. And also, this segment of Genesis 7:13 says, Ve'eshet Noach u'shloshet neshe vanav. And here we see shloshet used with the very feminine word neshe, which is a construct form of women or wives. And the word shloshet can take personal endings, and we see 2 of them in the very same verse in the Tanakh. So this segment of Numbers 12:4 says, Tseu shloshtekhem el ohel moed, vayetzu shloshtam. And this means, come out, you 3, to the tent of meeting. And so the 3 of them went out. And so we have the 3 of you, shloshtechem, and the 3 of them, shloshtam. And this also still works in modern Hebrew. And then there's the ordinal number, shlishi. And shlishi can be made feminine by adding a taf, shlishit. So in the Tanakh, we see bashlishit and shlishita to mean a 3rd time. And we don't see that anymore in modern Hebrew. Those expressions have gone by the wayside. Another word/phrase related to the word shlishi is shileshim, which seems to mean the people of the 3rd generation. This is used when the Lord is fed up with the humans and is going to bring punishment upon not only the people who have sinned, but their children, and the 3rd generation, and the 4th generation. And so it says, al shilashim ve'al ribaim, meaning the 3rd and the 4th generations. And a 3rd, the fraction, 1/3 of a whole, can be in the Tanakh either shlishit or shalish. And shalish is usually translated as a measure or measures. And there's sometimes a note saying that it probably is a 3rd of an ephah, whatever that is. And apparently shlishit can get pronominal endings because in Ezekiel 5:12 we have shlishhteich, which means a third of you. Now this word shlishhteich is interesting because it looks like a third of you singular feminine. And so who can that singular feminine entity be if you're like taking a third of it? And the context is that the Lord is angry with the people of Jerusalem. And so he says, 1/3 of you will die of pestilence. And the you there is the city of Jerusalem. And all cities are always feminine in Hebrew. So modern Hebrew has a word that looks like shalish, but has different nikud to mean a third, 1/3. And the word is shlish with a schwa under the shin. And the plural, if you have like 2/3 or more than that, is shlishim. So besides all of these number words, we have a couple of nouns in the Tanakh. And the first one is shalish, which besides meaning a third, this word also means a military officer or an aide, as in like an assistant or an attendant. And I kind of wonder if this is because the officers were third in command. It seems to make sense, but I'm not 100% sure. And this meaning of military officer still exists in modern Hebrew, but its meaning has really narrowed to a very specific officer. And there seems to be an instrument called a shalish. We only see it in the Tanakh in the plural, shalishim. And this is mentioned in 1 Samuel 18 after David kills Goliath. And he comes back and the women come out and they're dancing and singing and playing this instrument, the shalishim. And so it gets translated as sistrums. And I recommend you go online and look this up. I guess they kind of work like a rattle, but most of them in the images, they have 3 bars going across. And so that kind of makes sense why they would have this shoresh, shin-lamed-shin. And then we have a word shlishiyah, which in the Tanakh, it gets translated as a third partner. So in this verse, it says, Bayom hahu yihyeh Yisrael shlishiyah leMitzrayim uleAshur, bracha bekerev haaretz. And the translation is, in that day, Israel shall be a third partner with Egypt and Assyria as a blessing on earth. In modern times, the word is defined as triad, triplet, threesome, or triumvirate. And I kind of feel like you could replace third partner with triumvirate in that sentence and get really the same meaning. So it's really like a threesome, a group of 3. When I say triplet in English, when I'm talking about 3 children who were all in the womb together, I use triplet to mean one of them. And so each one is a triplet, but the whole group of them has to be said in plural, triplets. But that's not the same in Hebrew. The word shlishiyah means the whole group of the triplets. Well, it is hard to believe, but the word triangle is nowhere to be found in the Tanakh. And apparently it is nowhere in the Christian Bible either. So the word for triangle is meshulash. When there are a bunch of words that are all in a group, they sometimes end up having very similar templates. And so this happens also with colors where most of them have the A-O vowel pattern. So we have kachol, sagol, atom, right? All of the colors pretty much have that same pattern. And we have the same thing with shapes. And so here is a table of all of the shape names and their number names and their number shoresh. And you can see that basically you just, however many sides, you're going to get a shape name that has that number shoresh in this template. And so, of course, meshulash is in that group because a triangle has 3 sides. And this can mean a triangle that you draw. It can also mean the musical instrument, the triangle that goes ding. there in the Tanakh is an adjective, meshulash. And this was an adjective that could mean related to three in a lot of different ways. In Genesis 15:9, we see that it means 3-year-old. So we have Egla meshulashet, ve'ez meshulashet, ve'ayil meshulash. A 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old she-goat, a 3-year-old ram. And also in Ezekiel 42:6, we have ki meshulashot hena, for they were arranged in 3 tiers. So it means in 3 tiers there. Or in Ecclesiastes 4:12, we see vehachut hameshulash, a 3-fold cord. All right, and then a modern adjective, a modern Hebrew adjective is shlishoni, which means tertiary, like a tertiary color or something like that. There's only one verb in the Tanakh and in modern times, and it is a PL verb, leshalesh. And it can mean to divide something in 3 parts or to do something a 3rd time. So in 1 Samuel 20:19, we see like a really weird construction. So it says, Veshilashta tered me'od, uvata el hamakom. And the JPS translates this as, so the day after tomorrow, go down all the way to the place. Tered means go down. So they have a verb, veshilashta, and they have in English translated it as the day after tomorrow. I try not to put pictures of copyrighted material unless I'm doing a book review because I don't want to get in trouble, but I just had to show you this. This is the Hebrew English Interlinear ESV Old Testament published by Crossway. So these people translate Veshilashta as, and you shall do on the 3rd day. I mean, that is one unusual verb. And leshalesh is still a proper verb in modern Hebrew, and at this point it means to triple. There are a few phrases based on this shoresh in the Tanakh, and some of them involve this word shilshom, which today means the day before yesterday. And it seems like it must have had some kind of meaning that way, because why else would it have a shin-lamed-shin? If today is number 1 and yesterday is number 2, then the day before yesterday is number 3, right? And so that makes sense as to how the day before yesterday has this shoresh that means 3. But the interesting thing is that it never shows up in the Tanakh with that exact meaning. It's always used as part of a phrase that also involves the word tmol, which means yesterday. And so we get tmol shilshom, and then there's always some other word, either a conjunction or a preposition, that also goes with it. And it always is used to mean a long time ago or in the past. Something, sometimes it's even in the habit of. They talk about, like, if an ox is in the habit of goring, this means, what does that mean? That he has done so in the past, right? And there is a famous book written in 1945 by Shai Agnon, who, and it's called Tmol Shilshom. And it's now considered like classical literature in Israel. And so now there's also a famous cafe/library in Jerusalem with the same name, Tmol Shilshom. Okay, some modern phrases. They're not really phrases, they're more like compound words. We have Ordinals, meshulshan. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce this Latin name, but it's a plant, and that's why it has a Latin name. And the common English name is three-toothed chamomile. And so you can see the three-toothed in the tridentata. But in Hebrew, it looks like maybe they consider it to be three-eared because of that oznan. There's also a word kesher shalush, which means a triple bond. This is, I guess, a thing in physics or maybe also chemistry. But shalosh, it means triple, so it can have other uses also if anything else is a triple something. Okay, I know this video is getting long, but I really can't end it without mentioning this other phenomenon that is related to this shoresh, I promise. When you have a shoresh in Hebrew that has a shin in it, sometimes there are words that have a taf in that position with the same meaning. So I talked about this a teeny little bit in my video on shin-mem-nun with regards to the word shmone. And we have two words, the word for octagon and the word for octopus, that both have a taf instead of a shin. Now, I just showed a chart where meshuman was the word that means octagon, and that does, but I think the more common word is metuman with a taf instead of a shin. And the word for octopus is tmanun. And that doesn't seem to, you think, well, where, why, how is that related? You know, we in English and in so many languages, you have some kind of word for 8 because it's so interesting that they have 8 legs. And it is in Hebrew also. It's just that shin is showing up as a taf instead of a shin. So I think maybe these are words that were borrowed into Hebrew during the Babylonian exile, but I'm not 100% sure. And so the reason I bring this up is that we have a couple of words that have a taf in both shoresh positions where there is a shin. And so the most common one is tlat. And tlat is a prefix that basically means like try, T-R-I. And so with this prefix, we can make the word tlat ofen, which ofen means wheel or cycle. And so this can be any 3-wheeled vehicle. It can be a tricycle all the way up to, like I saw a picture of a 3-wheeled, it almost looked like a little pickup truck, but it only had 3 wheels. And so that was also a tlat ofen. And memad is a dimension, and so tlat, memadi, is 3-dimensional or 3D. And so from that, we can get seret tlat memad, a 3D movie, and hadpasa tlat memadit, 3D printing, as well as, of course, there's all kinds of other uses for 3-dimensional. And then we also have tlat shnati, which means 3-year, kind of as an adjective. It's an adjectival form. So if I have like a 3-year contract or a 3-year program in school, we would use tlat shnati for that. And sapa tlat moshavit is a 3-seater sofa, a sofa that seats 3. And we also have atzlan tlat etzba, which is a 3-toed sloth. Those guys are so cute. And we also have tlat regel, which means 3-legged. So besides the prefix tlat, we also have tiltan, which means clover, which is a plant that generally has 3 leaves. So that's it for today. Now you know all about the shoresh shin-lamed-shin. If you have any questions or feedback, please leave it in the comments. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, hit subscribe, and press the notification bell if you want to see more. Lehitraot b'pa'am haba'ah. See you next time.